from the Heavy D Storytelling. How are you doing today?
Like the video. I'm serious. Hit thumbs up right now. Just do it. Just trust me.
Dad, that doesn't work. It might.
It might. Who knows? All right, keep going.
But today we are going to be doing the Bible first up. Then we're going to be doing Ben-Hur. And also,
We have a synopsis.
we have a synopsis in between the Bible and Ben-Hur.
Mm-hmm.
And also hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. And to have a notification if you get our, basically if you hit the bell, then you'll have notifications when we have new videos. Okay? So, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell.
Yes, if you hit the bell, you actually get a prize. And let me tell you what the prize is. You get a notification every time we post a new video. So just go ahead and hit the bell, because that's a prize. All right, are you surprised? Okay, never mind. That was a dad joke. It's not even a good pun. All right. All right. Ruth chapter 3, this is the English Standard Version of the Bible. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." And she replied, "All that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning." So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, Let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And he said, "Bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out." So she held it, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then she went into the city, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did you fare, my daughter?" Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, "These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, 'You must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law.'" She replied, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter tonight." That's the end of chapter 3 of Ruth, and we will be back for the exciting conclusion tomorrow. And I hope that you get to join us. And JJ has I think it's a Bible verse. So here we go.
It's a new thing. Yay, it's a new thing. Yay, I'm here again, but I'm reading from the English Standard Version.
Is it the ESV?
ESV?
Okay.
Yep. It is John 3:16.
Okay.
My favorite Bible verse.
Go ahead and read it.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. It's my favorite Bible verse. And and it's a very, very important Bible verse. So.
Okay, and now we're going to have the synopsis.
Yeah.
And today it doesn't take me 20 seconds to get here. Yay! So, I think yesterday, yesterday Mom curled my hair, so it's a bit wavy from that still. But in the last chapter, what happened was, Ben-Hur practiced with the horses a bit more. He started the chariot, and they found out that, what's his name?
Messala.
Yeah, Messala. I know it starts with an M.
That's
Okay.
why I told you need to start actually going over the chapters.
Okay. I do know what the name. Okay, so Messala. They found out that Messala knows where they are. So basically, they know that Messala knows where they are. I know it's a bit confusing at times. Chrissy, go. Sorry, the dogs were crowding this area, but okay. So then what happened was, this one guy, Sheikh-Ilderim, isn't that his name?
Yes.
Yeah. Sheikh-Ilderim, he was going on about, okay, so if I had half the reason to not like the Romans that you do, then I would do all these things, and then he listed off all the things that he'd do. And it was very intense. So,
And not only was it intense, it was also intense. That one was free.
That is such a dad joke.
Okay, come on.
Okay, so then what happened was, I forgot what happened after that.
Okay, well, I think that's pretty good. What?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
She went to the grocery store.
Plus a billion details.
All right.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Reading.
You're not reading.
Okay,
silly.
it's my turn.
Yeah,
Come on.
it's just joke.
All right. Hello. Thank you, one person. You missed the thing where I said to go ahead and hit the like button. So go ahead and hit the like button now so that we know that you like us.
Subscribe and
Last
hit the
chance.
bell.
All right. You can also not hit the like button because of the dad joke earlier, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so this is chapter 6, book 5, chapter 6, Training the Four. The intercepted letter was conclusive upon a number of points of great interest to Ben-Hur. It had all the effect of a confession that the writer was a party to the putting away of the family with murderous intent, that he had sanctioned the plan adopted for the purpose, that he had received a portion of the proceeds of the confiscation, and was yet enjoying of his part, that he dreaded the unexpected appearance of what he was pleased to call the chief malefactor, and accepted it as a menace, that he contemplated such further action as would secure him in the future, and was ready to do whatever his accomplice in Caesarea might advise. And now that the letter had reached the hand of him really its subject, it was notice of danger to come, as well as a confession of guilt. So when Ilderim left the tent, Ben-Hur had much to think about, requiring immediate action. His enemies were as adroit and powerful as any in the east. If they were afraid of him, he had greater reason to be afraid of them. He strove earnestly to reflect upon the situation, but could not. His feelings constantly overwhelmed him. There was a certain qualified pleasure in the assurance that his mother and sister were alive, and it mattered little that the foundation of the assurance was a mere inference. that there was one person who could tell him where they were seemed to be, or to his hope, so long deferred, as if discovery were now close at hand. These were mere causes of feelings underlying them, it about to make ordination on his behalf, in which event faith whispered him to stand still. Occasionally referring to the words of Ilderim, he wondered whence the Arab derived his information about him. Not from Malek, certainly, nor from Simonides, whose interests, all adverse, would hold him dumb. Could Messala have been the informant? No. Disclosure might be dangerous in that quarter. Conjecture was vain. At the same time, often as Ben-Hur was beaten back from the solution, he was consoled with the thought that whoever the person with the knowledge might be, he was a friend, and, being such, would reveal himself in good time. A little more waiting, a little more patience. Possibly the errand of the sheik was to see the worthy. Possibly the letter might precipitate a full disclosure. And patient he would have been if only he could have believed Tirzah and his mother were waiting for him under circumstances permitting hope on their part strong as his, if, in other words, conscience had not stung him with accusations respecting them. To escape such accusations, he wandered far through the orchard, pausing now where the date gatherers were busy, yet not too busy to offer him of their fruit and talk with him, then under the great trees to watch the nesting birds or hear the bees swarming about the berries, bursting with honeyed sweetness and filling all the green and golden spaces with the music of their beating wings. By the lake, however, he lingered longest. He might not look upon the water and its sparkling ripples, so like sensuous life, without thinking of the Egyptian and her marvelous beauty, and of floating with her here and there through the night made brilliant by her songs and stories. He might not forget the charm of her manner, the lightness of her laugh, the flattery of her attention, the warmth of her little hand under his upon the tiller of the boat. From her it was for his thought but a short way to Balthazar, and the strange things of which he had been witness unaccountable by any law of nature, and from him again to the King of Jews, whom the good man with such pathos of patience was holding in holy promise. The distance was even nearer. And there his mind stayed, finding in the mysteries of that personage a satisfaction answering well for the rest he was seeking, because it may have been nothing is so easy as denial of an idea not agreeable to our wishes. He rejected the definition given by Balthazar of the kingdom the king was coming to establish, a kingdom of souls, if not intolerable to his Sadducean faith, seemed to him but an abstraction drawn from the depths of a devotion too fond and dreamy. A kingdom of Judea, on the other hand, was more than comprehensible. Such had been, if only for that reason might be again. And it suited his pride to think of a new kingdom broader of domain, richer in power, and of more unapproachable splendor than the old one, of a new king wiser and mightier than Solomon, a new king under whom especially he could find both service and revenge. In that mood he returned to the Dower. The midday meal disposed of, still further to occupy himself, Ben-Hur had the chariot rolled out into the sunlight for inspection. The word but poorly conveys the careful study the vehicle underwent. No point or part of it escaped him. With a pleasure which will be better understood hereafter, he saw the pattern was Greek. In his judgment preferable to the Roman in many respects. It was wider between the wheels and lower and stronger, and the disadvantage of greater weight would be more than compensated by the greater endurance of his Arabs. Speaking generally, the carriage makers of Rome built for the games almost solely, sacrificing safety to beauty, and durability to grace, while the chariots of Achilles and the king of men, designed for war and all its extreme tests, still ruled the tastes of those who met and struggled for the crowns of Isthmian and Olympic. Next he brought the horses, and, hitching them to the chariot, drove to the field of exercise, where hour after hour he practiced them in movement under the yoke. When he came away in the evening, it was with restored spirit and a fixed purpose to defer action in the matter of Massala, until the race was won or lost. He could not forgo the pleasure of meeting his adversary under the eyes of the East. That there might be other competitors seemed not to enter his thought. His confidence in the result was absolute, no doubt of his own skill, and as to the four, they were his full partners in the glorious game. Let him look to it. Let him look to it. Ha, Antares, Aldebaran, shall he not? O honest Regal, and thou, Altair, king among coursers, shall he not be aware of us? Ha ha, good hearts. That, of course, being the names of the four horses. So in rest he passed from horse to horse, speaking not as a master, but the senior of as many brethren. After nightfall, Ben-Hur sat by the door of the tent, waiting for Ilderim, not yet returned from the city. He was not impatient, nor vexed, nor doubtful. The sheik would be heard from, at least. Indeed, whether it was from satisfaction with the performance of the four, or the refreshment there is in cold water succeeding bodily exercise, or supper partaken with royal appetite, or the reaction which, as a kindly provision of nature, always follows depression, the young man was in good humor verging upon elation. He felt himself in the hands of Providence, no longer his enemy. At last there was a sound of horses' feet coming rapidly, and Malak rode up. "Son of Arius," he said cheerily after salutation, "I salute you for Sheik Ilderim, who requests you to mount and go to the city. He is waiting for you." Ben-Hur asked no questions, but went in where the horses were feeding. Aldebaran came to him as if offering his service. He played with him lovingly, but passed on and chose another, not of the four. They were sacred to the race. Very shortly the two were on the road, going swiftly and in silence. Some distance below the Seleucian bridge, they crossed the river by a ferry, and, riding far round on the right bank and recrossing by another ferry, entered the city from the west. The detour was long, but Ben-Hur accepted it as a precaution, for which there was good reason. Down to Simonides landing they rode, and in front of the great warehouse under the bridge Malak drew rein. "We are come," he said. "Dismount." Ben-Hur recognized the place. "Where is the sheik?" he asked. "Come with me. I will show you." A watchman took the horses, and almost before he realized it, Ben-Hur stood once more at the door of the house, up on the greater one, listening to the response from within. "In God's name, enter." Chapter 7. Simonides renders account. Malak stopped at the door. Ben-Hur entered alone. The room was the same in which he had formerly interviewed Simonides, and it had been in no wise changed, except now, close by the armchair, a polished brazen rod set on a broad wooden pedestal arose higher than a tall man, holding lamps of silver on sliding arms, 6 or more in number, and all burning. The light was clear, bringing into view the paneling on the walls, the cornice with its row of gilded balls, and the dome dully tinted with violet mica. Within a few steps, Ben-Hur stopped. 3 persons were present, looking at him: Simonides, Ilderim, and Esther. He glanced hurriedly from one to another, as if to find answer to the question half formed in his mind. What business can these have with me? He became calm, with every sense on the alert, for the question was succeeded by another. Are they friends or enemies? At length his eyes rested upon Esther. The men returned his look kindly. In her face there was something more than kindness, something too spiritual for definition, yet which went to his inner consciousness without definition. Without definition. Too spiritual. Okay. Shall it be said, good reader, back of his gaze there was a comparison in which the Egyptian arose and set herself over against the gentle Jewess. But it lived an instant, and, as is the habit of such comparisons, passed away without conclusion. Son of her! The guest turned to the speaker. Son of her, said Simonides, repeating the address slowly, and with distinct emphasis, as if to impress all its meaning upon him, most interested in understanding it. Thou take the peace of the Lord God of our fathers. Take it from me. He paused, then added, from me and mine. The speaker sat in his chair. There were the royal head, the bloodless face, the masterful air, under the influence of which visitors forgot the broken limbs and distorted body of the man. The full black eyes gazed out under the white brows steadily, but not sternly. A moment thus, then he crossed his hands upon his breast. The action taken with the salutation could not be misunderstood, and was not. Simonides, Ben-Hur answered, much moved, the holy peace you tender is accepted. As son to father, I return it to you, only let there be perfect understanding between us. Thus, delicately, he sought to put aside the submission of the merchant, and, in place of the relation of master and servant, substitute one higher and holier. Simonides let fall his hands, and turning to Esther said, a seat for the master, daughter? She hastened and brought a stool and stood with suffused face, looking from one to the other, from Ben-Hur to Simonides, from Simonides to Ben-Hur, and they waited, each declining the superiority direction would imply. When at length the pause began to be embarrassing, Ben-Hur advanced, and gently took the stool from her, and going to the chair, placed it at the merchant's feet. I will sit here, he said. His eyes met hers, an instant only, but both were better of the look. He recognized her gratitude, she his generosity and forbearance. Simonides bowed his acknowledgment. Esther, child, bring me the paper, he said, with a breath of relief. She went to a panel in the wall, opened it, took out a roll of papyri, and gave it to him. Thou saidst well, son of her, Simonides began, while unrolling the sheets. Let us understand each other. In anticipation of the demand which I would have made hadst thou waived it, I have here a statement covering everything necessary to the understanding required. I could see but 2 points involved, the property first, and then our relation. The statement is explicit as to both. Will it please thee to read it now? Ben-Hur received the papers, but glanced at Ilderim. Nay, said Simonides, the sheik shall not deter thee from reading. The account, such thou wilt find it, is of a nature requiring a witness. In the attesting place at the end thou wilt find, when thou comest to it, the name Ilderim, sheik. He knows all. He is thy friend. All he has been to me, that will he be to thee also. Simonides looked at the Arab, nodding pleasantly, and the latter gravely returned the nod, saying, Thou hast said. Ben-Hur replied, I know already the excellence of his friendship, and have yet to prove myself worthy of it. Immediately he continued, Later, O Simonides, I will read the papers carefully. For the present do thou take them, and if thou be not too weary, give me their substance. Simonides took back the roll. Here, Esther, stand by me and receive the sheets, lest they fall into confusion. She took place by his chair, letting her right arm fall lightly across his shoulder. So when he spoke, the account seemed to have rendition from both of them jointly. This, said Simonides, drawing out the first leaf, shows the money I had of thy fathers, being the amount saved from the Romans. There was no property saved, only money, and that the robbers would have secured but for our Jewish custom of bills of exchange. The amount saved being sums I drew from Rome, Alexandria, Damascus, Carthage, Valencia, and elsewhere within the circle of trade, was 120 talents, Jewish money. He gave the sheet to Esther and took the next one. With that amount, 120 talents, I charged myself. Here, now, my credits. I use the word, as thou wilt see, with reference rather to the proceeds gained from the use of the money. From separate sheets he then read footings, with which fractions omitted were as follows. By ships, 60 talents. Goods in store, 110 talents. Cargoes in transit, 75 talents. Camels, horses, etc., 20 talents. Warehouses, 10 talents. Bills due, 54 talents. Money on hand and subject to draft, 224 talents. Total, 553 talents. To these now, to the 553 talents gained, add the original capital I had from thy father, and thou hast 673 talents, and all thine, making thee, O son of Hur, the richest subject in the world. He took the papyri from Esther, and, reserving one, rolled them and offered them to Ben-Hur. The pride perceptible in his manner was not offensive. It might have been from a sense of duty well done. It might have been for Ben-Hur without reference to himself. And there is nothing, he added, dropping his voice, but not his eyes. There is nothing now thou mayest not do. The moment was one of absorbing interest to all present. Simonides crossing his hands upon his breast again. Esther was anxious, Ilderim nervous. A man is never so on trial as in the moment of excessive good fortune. Taking the roll, Ben-Hur arose, struggling with emotion. All this is to me as a light from heaven, sent to drive away a night which has been so long I feared it would never end, and so dark I had lost the hope of seeing. He said with a husky voice, I give first thanks to the Lord, who hath not abandoned me, and my next to thee, O Simonides. Thy faithfulness outweighs the cruelty of others, and redeems our human nature. There is nothing I cannot do, be it so. Shall any man in this my hour of such mighty privilege be more generous than I? Serve me as witness now, Sheik Ilderim. Hear thou my words as I shall speak them. Hear and remember. And thou, Esther, good angel of this good man, hear thou also. He stretched his hands with the roll to Simonides. The things these papers take into account, all of them, ships, houses, goods, camels, horses, money, the least as well as the greatest, give I back to thee, O Simonides, making them all thine, and sealing them to thee and thine forever. Esther smiled through her tears. Ilderim pulled his beard with rapid motion, his eyes glistening like beads of jet. Simonides alone was calm. Sealing them to thee and thine forever, Ben-Hur continued, with better control of himself, with one exception, and upon one condition. The breath of the listeners waited upon his words. The 120 talents which were my father's, thou shalt return to me. Ilderim's countenance brightened. And thou shalt join me in search of my mother and sister, holding all thine subject to the expense of discovery, even as I will hold mine. Simonides was much affected. Stretching out his hand, he said, I see thy spirit, son of Hur, and I am grateful to the Lord that he hath sent thee to me such as thou art. If I served well thy father in life, and his memory afterwards, be not afraid of default to thee, yet must I say the exception cannot stand. Exhibiting then the reserved sheet, he continued, Thou hast not all the account. Take this and read. Read aloud. Ben-Hur took the supplement and read. Statement of the servants of Hur, rendered by Simonides, steward of the estate. Amrah, Egyptian, keeping the palace in Jerusalem. Simonides, the steward, in Antioch. Esther, daughter of Simonides. Now, in all his thoughts of Simonides, not once had it entered Ben-Hur's mind that, by the law, a daughter followed the parent's condition. In all his visions of her, the sweet-faced Esther had figured as the rival of the Egyptian and an object of possible love. He shrank from the revelation so suddenly brought him, and looked at her blushing, and blushing she dropped her eyes before him. Then he said, while the papyrus rolled itself together, A man with 600 talents is indeed rich, and may do what he pleases, but rarer than the money, more priceless than the property, is the mind which amassed the wealth, and the heart it could not corrupt when amassed. O Simonides, and thou, fair Esther, fear not. Sheik Ilderim, here shall be witness that in the same moment ye were declared my servants, that moment I declared ye free. And what I declare, that will I put in writing. Is it not enough? Can I do more? Son of Hur, said Simonides, verily thou dost make servitude lightsome. I was wrong. There are some things thou canst not do. Thou canst not make us free in law. I am thy servant forever, because I went to the door with thy father one day, and in my ear the owl marks yet abide. Did my father that? Judge him not, cried Simonides quickly. He accepted me, a servant of that class, because I prayed him to do so. I never repented the step. It was the price I paid for Rachel, the mother of my child here, for Rachel, who would not be my wife unless I became what she was. Was she a servant forever? Even so. Ben-Hur walked the floor in pain of impotent wish. I was rich before, he said, stopping suddenly. I was rich with the gifts of the generous Arius. Now comes this greater fortune, and the mind which achieved it. Is there not a purpose of God in it all? Counsel me, O Simonides. Help me to see the right and do it. Help me to be worthy my name, and what thou art in law to me. That will I be to thee in fact and indeed. I will be thy servant forever. Simonides' face actually glowed. O son of my dead master, I will do better than help. I will serve thee with all my might of mind and heart. Body I have not, it perished in the cause. But with mind and heart I will serve thee, I swear it, by the altar of our God, and the gifts upon the altar. Only make me formally what I have assumed to be. Name it, said Ben-Hur eagerly. As steward, the care of the property will be mine. Count thyself steward now, or wilt thou have it in writing? Thy word simply is enough. It was so with thy father, and I will not more from the son. And now, if the understanding be perfect, Simonides paused. It is with me, said Ben-Hur, and thou, daughter of Rachel, speak. And Simonides, lifting her arm, said Simonides, lifting her arm from his shoulder. Esther, left thus alone, stood a moment abashed, her color coming and going. Then she went to Ben-Hur and said, with a womanliness singularly sweet, I am not better than my mother was, and as she is gone, I pray you, O my master, let me care for my father. Ben-Hur took her hand and led her back to the chair, saying, Thou art a good girl. Have thy will. Simonides replaced her arm upon his neck, and there was silence for a time in the room. Chapter 8 is called Spiritual or Political. Simonides argues. And this one is kind of long. And we have a restless child that can't seem to settle right now, so I'm going to put it to rest right now. put the book to rest, so that he can get in his room like he's supposed to be. So I hope that everybody's having a good evening. I wish you all well, and God bless you. And we will finish the, we'll read the next chapter. We will read the next chapter tomorrow. And God bless you all and have a good night. Okay, bye.